Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies. Let's talk about what I have for you guys today, because I woke up this morning and I felt like death, and Tank Baby was in her room going like you know, making the abandoned baby sounds, and she knew that like Daddy just wanted 5 more minutes, but she wanted Daddy to have like maybe 5 seconds, you know, come on, bring the milk. And so anyway, I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? I just have to share this with you guys. So here I am in Kingdom Manager, and is it just me, or does it seem a little bit more forgiving than it was before? But that is not this. This is the 6th of Rova. I've got plenty of time to drag my feet on those things. I want to show you guys a character class that I seriously underestimated. Now, I've talked up the Bard a bit, but in my heart, I've always been like, there's got to be something better. And it turns out that there are some really awesome Bard builds out there, and I'm enjoying the Thundercaller immensely. So I'm going to show you my Thundercaller and sort of the idea I had behind creating this character. I think you'll agree that she has the best profile image and character model that she could possibly have. Yes, she has. There's Guppy. So this is our Thundercaller, and if we look at her abilities, she has quite a lot of things going for her, but mainly as a level 8 character, she gets a plus 12 to her hit with her little crossbow that she's using. So she's not completely useless in mundane combat, but using the crossbow is a waste of her potential, and that has to do mainly with the Thunder Call. So she can use her Bard Song, so 1 charge of Bard Song, which she gets like over 20 per day right now, so she's good to go on the Bard Song. She can spam this like crazy. 2, cause a burst of sonic damage, and it deals a not insignificant amount of sonic damage, but okay, yeah. Hi Guppy. IRL Guppy here wants me to open up this toothpaste for her so she can play with it. Wow, that's minty and fresh, Guppy. Yeah, look at you. Yay! There you go. Okay, off with you. I love you. You are precious. Ah, you big smile. Okay. So you deal a not insignificant amount of sonic damage, and you know, few things in this game have sonic resistance, so something to keep in mind. But the big deal is they have to make a fortitude save to avoid being stunned for 1 round. One of the reasons this is awesome is because it's a fortitude save, but they also get a reflex save as well. Apparently, I'm not sure. You see, the description says fortitude, but the saving throw says reflex, and when it's cast, it says that they made the reflex save if they avoid the stun. So maybe it's reflex to avoid stun, maybe it's both, maybe it's bugged. Look at this exciting world we live in. But even with that conundrum, Thundercall is really powerful. It's the equivalent of a solid 2nd or 3rd level spell, and you get it right away, and it goes off of your Bard Song, which, as I mentioned before, you can spam incessantly. So that is a great ability. I did a little bit of experimenting, and I gave Guppy it's like the prolonged Bard Song feat, lingering song, lingering performance right here, and you can read the description. Pause if you need to read the whole thing, but what it does is it makes your Bard Song persist for an additional 2 rounds after ending the song. It does not work to increase the stun duration on Thundercall, unfortunately, although the language, I could probably talk my DM or my GM into letting me have that extra long stun. but that is not the case in this game. So the stun on Thundercall only lasts for 1 round. Yeah, hi Bebe. It's shut again. Oh, it re-glued itself. There you go. There you go. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay. So Thundercall, you don't get a longer stun with Lingering Performance. However, here's the trick. It's not a wasted feat for me because I can use Inspire Courage, which, as you see, gives us a competence bonus, which stacks with other bonuses, right? It'll stack with your Divine bonus from, let me say, Bless. It'll stack with your Luck bonus from the good, I think Prayer gives a Luck bonus, and then I have a spell. She has a spell in her spell book that gives a Luck bonus. Good Hope. Get a morale bonus. So this stacks with your morale bonus, it stacks with your luck bonus, it stacks with a bunch of other bonuses is what I'm saying to your hit and damage. Very good ability, that Bard Song, as you probably already knew. But to get back to Guppy, I can pop Inspire Courage at the beginning of combat, and then on round 2 I can drop Inspire Courage to use Thundercall for 2 rounds before I have to reactivate Inspire Courage. And the way my party is set up, I have a lot of very powerful fighters. I generally have 3 to 6 summoned wolves with my party right now, thanks to this Kratos lookalike boy right here, Mr. White, who is a monster tactician. Very strong class, really great addition to any party. Suffice to say, Guppy is really good at buffing masses of people, and my party focuses on having masses of people. So you summon your monsters, you buff them up strong, and then you start dropping that good Thunder Call down on the enemy's front line, and pretty soon you're just tearing through them. Now, because Thunder Call, let's see, it's actually a stun. Stun makes enemies helpless, so every hit is pretty much guaranteed to hit them, or every attack is pretty much guaranteed to hit them. Again, this really works well with an offensive power based party, which I have. I only have 2 characters who are defensively focused. I have my paladin over here, Macro, and I keep wanting to call him Marco even though I named him, but he's not quite so polarized. He's not a Marco Polo, if you will. On defense, he just happens to have some pretty solid defenses, but my rock here is Brick. And you can see I've put points into Con for him. And he's focused entirely on armor class. This 38 armor class actually goes up when he goes into combat because he's constantly running expertise and defensive fighting, and he gets a shield wall bonus of a +2 when he's standing next to Marco. So, or Macro. See, I did it. And so these 2 guys make my initial encounter line, and the enemy lines start to wrap around them, but they don't care. What's a +2 to the enemy's chance to hit when you have a 45 AC, right? This thing goes up. So this guy tends to hold the line fairly well, and again, this is level 8. He has an insane armor class, and he still gets hit all the time by like trolls and things. They tend to slip their attacks in, so good healing and the ability to just roll over the enemy is essential. And to bring that all back to the Bard, because we are talking about the Bard today, never look at a character build without looking at the characters that are going to flesh out the idea. You might have the best character class in mind, but if it doesn't fit into your party, you're wasting your time. And that's really the secret with the Bard. There's always room in your party for a Bard. You might have an idea for a character that could take their place, but for this party that's focused on summons and just having lots and lots of tokens on the board, as it were, there's no class better than the Bard, and the Thundercaller is a great version of the Bard to use. You still get your Inspire Courage, which is the only Bard song you ever need, a chance to hit and damage, and that's really all you need. And the bonus against charm effects is just a bonus. And then dropping that Thunder Call. Do I sound a bit repetitive here? But again, this is the kind of thing that wins battles. And then she has her spells. So let's look at what we have for her spells. These level 1 spells don't get cast all that often, but Feather Step can be helpful in certain situations. And she is a halfling, so Expeditious Retreat can help her keep up with the rest of the party. Heroism, you see that it is a morale bonus on attack rolls, saves, and skill checks. So that stacks with your competence bonus. Again, it stacks with your luck bonus. It's a good thing to have. Glitter Dust, by the way, you fight a lot of Fae. You fight several things that use invisibility, and it's never a bad idea to blind the enemy. So Glitter Dust is a fantastic ability to have in your lineup. Rage I haven't even used yet, but I like the idea of if I need to push my summons to that next level, I can cast Rage on my entire front line and have them all dealing more damage and hitting just slightly more often. Good Hope is a fantastic spell at level 3. This is one that I use constantly. I have another character to cast Haste, because if you're not hasting your party, you're wasting your party. But Good Hope, a +2, again this is a morale bonus, so it's not going to stack with heroism. It's basically a mass heroism. I just attacked my mic stand there. I don't know if you guys heard that. So this is a great spell to use. I haven't used Confusion yet, because again, my philosophy is that if I use party buffs and I make my own team really strong, I don't need to give the enemy a chance to roll a saving throw, right? But in an emergency, if I need some serious crowd control, Confusion could save the day, or it could just do nothing. Again, anything that gives the enemy a saving throw is going to be less effective than something that just buffs up your party to an equivalent amount. So that's my philosophy. You could build your character to work differently, but that's just what I do. Now let's talk about stats. Guppy is, as we said, a level 8 Thundercaller, and right away at level 1 we started her off with a 20 Charisma. We allowed Wisdom to be a dump stat, and I haven't really come to regret that yet. Later in the game, she's going to want to have higher will saves, but with some gear and with a paladin in the party that can bestow grace, I think it's called. Yeah, he has a spell called Bestow Grace. Let's look at that right now. Man, I'm good. Look at that. Oh, also, he has a few more castings he can use here. We haven't addressed his spell book for a while. Bestow Grace, again, to come back to the Bard build here, having a paladin in your party really helps out your sorcerers and your bards, because you can add the grace effect to them. You give them divine grace, which adds their charisma bonus to all their saving throws for 1 minute per caster level. With this paladin casting as a 5th level, that'd be 5 minutes. So definitely the duration of 1, maybe 2 or 3 combats, depending upon how quickly you're tearing through the enemy. Not a bad ability at all, especially since you only need to have this when enemies are using those spells and abilities on your back row. So not all that often that you need that, but Bestow Grace is a fantastic ability. Now, moving on. Looking at some of the other spells, Hold Person. Again, this allows them a will save every round, but if something has a poor will save, like a troll, or sorry, maybe not a troll, because he'd be a monstrous humanoid, perhaps. But say fighters and such, Hold Person is a decent one to have. Although I've noticed you spend a lot of time fighting monsters and fae and magical creatures in this game, as well as undead, all of which are not going to be affected by Hold Person. So this has been a look at a specific level 8 Thundercaller, the Bard in general, to get into, ladies and gentlemen, the Bard. So, as a character that uses Charisma, it's not going to shoot you in the foot to select. Hi, Guppy. Hey, cutie. Hey, you want some chicken? You want some chicken? There you go. It's not going to kill you to select something like a halfling. And halflings are fun to have in the party just for roleplay reasons. You know, who doesn't want to chuck a teammate across the field of battle every now and then? And with a halfling, you can imagine yourself doing that. But if we change her hair, the important thing about the halfling is if we change her hair to sort of this color, then she starts to look a whole lot like Tank Baby, and I just adore that. So, again, race doesn't necessarily matter all that much, and there are ways to build a frontline bard, but I really feel if you're doing that, you're wasting your time, because there's a lot of stats that you could put into other areas if you just let the bard sit on the back row and not engage the enemy personally. Their job is to get everybody else excited about being their meat shield. So bard is going to be up here with the bees, of course. And if you're not familiar with the Bard class, you get these awesome Bard songs there. You can pause to look at that one. Inspire Courage is the only one you really need. And then you can also get Inspire Competence shortly afterward. And it's meh. I feel like you don't really need a bonus to your skill checks. And again, that's going to use one of your Bard song uses for the day if you decide to activate this. And when it comes to Bard song, use it tactically. You do have a limited number of uses, although there is a pretty high cap on that limit. So you want to use it when you need it, and then not use it when you don't need it. There's no reason to have Bard song going constantly in Pathfinder. Eventually you get a bonus to your own skill checks. Inspired Competence keeps getting better. You get your Bard talents, which are bonus feats that can be along the lines of rogue skills, but no sneak attacks. And eventually you get some other things that, well, they don't end up making a huge difference. Inspire Heroics ends up being decent for defense, but that's a level 15 ability, and again, that's going to be a dodge bonus to AC. That's quite good because it stacks with everything, so that's not bad. Plus 4 morale bonus on saving throws. That's not going to stack with other morale bonuses, just so you know. So things like greater heroism is going to be not stacking with that. You get the Fascinate ability, Waste of Time, Dirge of Doom. Again, not necessarily something you need to spend your time on, especially since enemies get a saving throw against that. Frightening Tune, and eventually Deadly Performance. You can look at that one. It's one of those instant kill abilities you get at level 20. Honestly, at that level, you should be able to tear through things without using your Bard song to do it. And eventually at level 7 you can perform as a move action. That means you can still perform a standard action in the same round, such as casting a spell or performing a single attack. And eventually you can perform as a swift action, which is really cool because, again, as a Thundercaller, your Bard performance is that blast. So that's the standard Bard, fairly cut and dried, but really with their knowledge skills, which we didn't talk about. There's Bardic Knowledge. Take a look at that one. You can add half of your level to your lore checks, and you can make all knowledge or lore skills untrained. But you might as well put points into those knowledge and lore skills, so you don't need to worry about anybody else being a know-it-all. You are the ultimate know-it-all as a standard Bard, and that changes if you change the Bard class. So here's the Archaeologist. They don't get Inspire Courage, but they get an ability that allows them to add that bonus to their selves, and then they get basically better rogue skills and better trap skills. So if you want to replace a rogue in your party with the absolute strongest of trap disarming, chest opening fellas, that would be an option. But honestly, I feel like the bard is strong enough to replace the rogue as your traps person already, and so you don't need to give up your ability to buff your party for that, if that makes any sense. But if you wanted to solo, the archaeologist could be an option, although again, Pathfinder is not made to play solo. Thundercaller, we talked about this one a lot. Love this class. Now, Bound to the Land is actually not as good as the standard Bard knowledge, and this is the main difference between your standard Bard and your Thundercaller. You give up your comprehensive knowledge of all of the knowledge and lore skills in trade for a comprehensive knowledge of lore nature, which is really good, again, because you can be a better rations hunter than a ranger, which I found hilarious. I just love the idea of the halfling bard bringing in more deer and elk and wild game than the ranger. It's just It tickles my fancy is what I'm saying. But other than that, a typical bard with the added ability to do this thunder call, and then some neat, spicy storm-based abilities. You can see at level 8 you get a call lightning as a bard ability that as call lightning deals extra damage in a storm, which is actually a weather condition that happens fairly frequently, and I'll have to talk about that sometime. It gives you some serious advantages. I actually was able to wipe out the Stag Lord with a lot more ease on account of I was in a thunderstorm far before I got this storm call ability, but it gave me some other advantages. And then you eventually get greater storm call at level 14, your damage goes up, and well, that's about it. But this one right here, Thunder Call, very, very powerful ability you get at level 3, and it is immeasurably useful. Right at level 3, when you get this, you're stunning like everybody, especially if you're smart and you put all of your points into Charisma, so you get that saving throw DC to be nice and high. Now, I don't know if this benefits from Spell Focus. I don't think it does, because it doesn't have a school descriptor there, but maybe you guys could experiment with that and find out for yourself. Flame Dancer is the other archetype of the bard, and again, this is a good idea if you want to have I've talked about this before actually in my covering of all the classes, but we'll include this into the bard video. You get your Inspire Courage, you get your bard knowledge, which is really good, but instead of some of your other bard ability, what bard ability do you lose? You lose Inspire Competence. So instead of Inspire Competence, you get Fire Dance, which increases your fire resistance of everyone that can hear this song. That's really good. Really good. So you can spam Fireball. At level 6, you get a 20 fire resistance, which is incredible. There's no spell that gives you a straight 20 fire resistance that you can cast at level 6. So this is really good. But you say, Toshio, there's, what is it? Energy immunity or whatever. Resist energy? I can't remember. I get confused. There's so many different names for them. And it gives you immunity to an energy type, but only for 12 points per caster level total. So this is better in the long term, is what I'm saying. You can basically drop fireballs in the middle of your party if you have to, but definitely rain down fire on that enemy front row and deep into enemy lines if that's what you want to do. You also get some of your other bardic abilities as normal, and at level 8 you get Fan the Flames. You add Burning Hands, Burning Arc, and Fireball to your list of bard spells known. So that's quite good. Fireball as needs no introduction with its big area of effect and its decent damage that scales quickly up to level 10 where you're dealing 10d6 damage, which never becomes an insignificant amount of damage for the area it controls. Obviously, other damaging spells are going to outperform that, but if you pair up the Flame Dancer with, say, a Red Dragon Bloodline Sorcerer who deals more fire damage with everything, you can have yourself a real good time. So that's been a look at the Bard. I didn't talk about the Bard's skills, so look at your class skills. Are you starting to see something awesome here? If you want to put a few points into intelligence, you can have, at 14 intelligence, you can have 5 skill points, 6 if you're a human, and you can have whatever skills you want as a class skill. So each one of those gets a +3 at the first skill point, and then continues to scale nicely as you get into higher levels. You can replace any skilled character with a Bard and not be disappointed. Trickery, stealth, lore nature, perception, these are fantastic skills to have as a Bard. You can replace 2 or 3 skilled characters and not have to worry about skill points. You can turn that intelligence into a dump stat for other characters in your team because you have a Bard to cover for them. Looking at them by themselves, the Bard seems like an interesting class that's not all that powerful, but when you put them into a party of 5 or 6 characters, especially if you're summoning monsters, the Bard is absolutely unparalleled when it comes to buffing the party and getting everybody's stats just a few points higher, 2, 3, 4 points, giving you 20% more hits. Giving you just that little edge when it comes to dealing damage, to the point where you end up, if you're facing some tough enemies, dealing 2 or 3 times the amount of physical attack damage just because you're hitting all of your attacks. I really can't state this enough. Summon monsters. There's no limit to the amount of monsters you can summon, and yes, Monster Tactician gets the best summoning abilities. I gotta make a video on them, outlining them specifically. I have a really strong Monster Tactician in my main party, and the Bard is the absolute best character to back them up. When it comes to a typical fight, what I'll do is I'll have everybody use their first ability for the combat, get my 2 frontline fighters into the fight and have everybody else cast 1 buff on themselves just so they have some delay between when they crash into the front lines. Get some summons down, and then I just play the rest of the combat focusing on the Bard, because the Bard, especially my Thundercaller, has all these abilities that she can use to turn the tide of the battle in our favor, and then everybody else can just do their own thing and do magnificently well. So I hope you guys understand that the Bard is a great character to have in your party, besides the fact that, you can make them an adorable little halfling and not have to worry about their defensive stats because they never need to personally engage in combat. They also make it so easy for you to build the rest of your party. You have so much freedom because you can put all of your skill points in the Bard and not have to worry about anybody else having skills. And you can also cast some great party buffs and combat abilities. The Thundercaller has a fantastic AoE stun that deals some damage. All in all, the Bard is a delightful class, and I would say one of the best choices to put into your party for 1 slot. I don't think you ever need to have more than 1 Bard, but if you don't have a Bard, by golly, you are doing yourself a disservice. You can still create a strong party, but there's nothing quite like having this multi-talented, encouraging character along for the ride, and that warms my heart because my goal in life is to be a good friend, and I feel like the Bard is the best friend to somebody who's on the battlefield. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, not the highest production quality, but that's not what I'm shooting for. I just want to share my thoughts with you guys, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.